Hey Danger Noodles, what is up? It's Danger. Welcome back to the Danger Daze Podcast. It has been a hot minute, has it not? How are you guys? What is up? I am so excited to be back filming videos and recording podcasts now that the haunt season is over. It was a great season, but I'm so glad to be back. I have missed all you guys, and today I have a topic that I really want to talk about. It is probably one of my favorite places on earth. I know I said that in the last video about Chernobyl, but I got a lot of favorite places, okay? Alright, so today's video is about the Winchester Mystery House, and for those of you who know me personally, I am absolutely obsessed with the Winchester House. I have a framed picture of the Winchester House and Sarah Winchester on my desk where I work every day. I absolutely love just the story of the Winchester Mansion and the paranormal stuff that happens around there. It's great. But today we're going to talk about the house itself. So let's get into it, shall we? Our story begins with William and Sarah Winchester of New Haven, Connecticut. William Winchester was the heir to the Winchester rifle fortune and had married his new bride Sarah in 1862. Everything seemed to be going great with the married couple. They had welcomed their first and only daughter named Annie on July 15th, 1986. Scratch that, 1886. Because that would have been recently. Annie was born 1886, and sadly, Annie passed away on July 25th of 1886. She was only about 10 days old. She had a childhood disease called marasmus. Yeah, y'all can look it up. I ain't good with words. But basically, she was only 10 days old when she passed away, and that really affected Sarah. Really took her hard on it. They never had any more children after that. Things seemed to be getting back to normal. A few years go by. Unfortunately, William, her husband, passed away in 1881 of tuberculosis when the giant tuberculosis outbreak happened. After his death, Sarah was said to inherit $20.5 million. That is an insane amount of money on today's money. That's a ridiculous amount of money. And I think she was one of the wealthiest women in the United States at that time, after she had inherited her husband's entire Winchester fortune. After her husband and daughter's death, however, Sarah began to have nightmares, claiming that she was being haunted by the people who were killed by her rifle. So that's where the ghost stories started. Was it paranormal? Was it Sarah losing her mind? We'll never know. I'd like to think it was paranormal, but moving on. She was recommended a psychic in Boston who told her that she needed to move as far west as possible. She was still living in New Haven, Connecticut at the time. She needed to move as far west as possible and start building a house to keep the spirits happy, and that she was not allowed to stop building or the spirits would come after her. This is where the Winchester house begins, you guys. This is where the craziness happens. So Sarah, who is a grieving widow and a grieving mother, has reached out to this psychic who was 95% probably a sham at this point, and just told her to move west as far as she could and build a house. And that if she didn't build this house, the spirits who were killed by the Winchester rifle were going to come after her and they were going to kill her. So Sarah was so terrified by these nightmares that she took the advice of the psychic, and in 1884 Sarah moved to San Jose, California, where she purchased an unfinished farmhouse and began building her home for the spirits. With her inheritance from her husband, it gave her an allowance of $1,000 a day. That is in 1884. That is equivalent to $23,000 a day. That would be super nice. I would love to have that much money a day, although I didn't know what I'd do with it. I'd probably give a lot of it away. With that money, Sarah hired contractors and builders who were told to never stop building, or they would be fired. And construction on the house started in 1884 and went on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 38 years. And the way Sarah must have planned the construction must have been really smart, because she was able to live in the house and sleep and do her daily activities around the construction. And there's only so many rooms you can build in a house. There's only so many things that you can do. So this is where all the craziness started to come from, where she started to build stairways to nowhere and doors that led straight out to a 2-foot, or 2-story drop. There were, cabinets that didn't open to anything, or there was just needed to be constant building. Didn't matter what it was, it needed to be constant. So in this construction, it gave the house 160 rooms, 40 of those being bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, 47 fireplaces, 10,000 panes of glass, 17 chimneys, 2 basements, and 3 elevators. That is a lot. That is a big house. This house is gigantic. If you've never seen the Winchester house, pause this podcast and go Google the Winchester Mystery House and have your mind blown by the beauty and just the overall strangeness of this house. This place is absolutely insane, but it is so gorgeous. And the best part is I say that Sarah just had to keep building, keep building, keep building. She didn't really care what she built as long as she was building, but she did care. That's the crazy thing, is she did care. It doesn't look like she did because there's just a bunch of random stuff, but she cared. She planned, she drew out, she knew every single thing that she needed in that house, and it is absolutely insane. So, another thing about Sarah, she was kind of a strange lady after, of course, the building started and, the passing of her husband and her daughter, and she had this fascination with the number 13. And all the candle holders and chandeliers were modified to hold 13 candles instead of the usual 12 in every room that has them. There are always 13 clothing hooks in each coat room. The drain covers that are in the sinks that have like the little catchers to catch like food or whatever, they have 13 holes in them. This is how, like, down to the tiniest detail, like the drain holes covers, they had to have 13 holes in them. And there are exactly 13 palm trees lining the driveway from the road to the house on either side. And when she left a will, when she did pass away, it was written in 13 sections and she signed it 13 times. So I'm sure there's a lot more instances of the number 13 in the house. Like I said, you're going to have to either go visit it yourself or do a lot of research on it. It is an incredible, incredible house. And there's so many little details. I can't even get into them here because it would be like a 4 or 5 hour long podcast and nobody wants that. Unfortunately, construction did stop, however, on September 5th of 1922 when Sarah Winchester passed away at the age of 83 due to heart failure in her own bed. And the bed in the room that Sarah passed away in is on display, and you can see it when you go visit the Winchester mansion. It is extremely creepy. After her death, the house was auctioned off, and in February of 1923, just a year after, or less than a year after her death, it's actually 5 months after she died, the public tours began. So that kind of is crazy to me because you're telling me that the house had such a reputation, the house had such public interest, that only 5 months after Sarah's passing, it opened to public tours. People wanted to see what the crazy Sarah Winchester had made and had done in her home. And it's incredible, and tours still go on today. And that's actually what we're going to talk about now, is what goes on today. So actually this is 2016, 93 years after the first tour was had taken place, they actually discovered a new room. So that's crazy. 2 years ago that they discovered a new room in the house. That's how insane this house is built. That you can go for 93 years of giving tours and never find this room. And they found it in 2016, and it's a new room in the attic of the house that has said to have been boarded up after Sarah's death. Inside was a couch, a dressing form, and some old paintings, and this room is now included on the tours and has been recreated for Sarah's shooting gallery, which is a little game you can go up and play on the tour. And in 2017, they have introduced a new tour called the Explore More Tour, which includes never-before-seen rooms and includes 110 of the 160 rooms. It is 2018, obviously, and I believe earlier this year there was a movie that came out called Winchester, and I was super excited to go see it. My girlfriend and I went seeing it opening night, and I kind of had some mixed reviews on it. I thought it was good from just like a movie standpoint. I thought it was very entertaining. I wished they would have sticked a little bit more to the original story. Spoiler alerts, if you have not watched the movie, I'm gonna give a little bit of a synopsis, I guess, on what they did in the movie with Sarah's story. So in the movie, they had Sarah basically building rooms for particular spirits, which I thought was kind of weird. She didn't build rooms in the house for particular spirits. She just built them to please the spirits. And in the movie, there's like, you know, of course, number 13 is important, but they basically were like, okay, here are the, you know, 13, here are the 13, you know, ghosts or whatever, you know, we're going to, here, you know, here, oh, sorry, I'm trying to look up the movie here. Okay, so basically there's like, here's 13 ghosts, here's, you know, you need to build a room for each one of them. Here's this guy who lost his wife. Now his wife's a ghost. It was a lot of, Sarah Winchester to me personally was not the main character. I think she was more of a side character than anything. And it really kind of bummed me out that she didn't get the attention she deserved in the movie. But overall, I think it was an okay movie. I watched it. I spent money on it. It was okay. So that is our Winchester podcast. I know that was maybe a little fast. It was a lot of information to take in, but I really wanted to get all this out and start a discussion on the Winchester Mystery House. If you've been to the Winchester Mystery House, go ahead and leave me your things below. Like, I want to hear about the Winchester House if you've gone. Start a discussion in the comments. Tell me some things you've heard about the Winchester House that maybe weren't in my podcast. But yeah, so until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm Dan Danger, you're the Danger Turtles, and I will see you guys